The massive crystal dome above the Galactic Council chamber sparkled with lights from 1,000 different worlds. Representatives from 63 species sat in floating chairs that moved slowly around the center stage. Some looked like giant insects with shining wings. Others were made of living gas that glowed blue and green. A few looked almost like trees, but with eyes that blinked along their bark-like skin. At the center of it all stood Veltar, the Zephyrian ambassador. His silver skin reflected the lights as he raised his forearms to get everyone's attention. The room fell silent except for the soft humming of the translation devices. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," Veltar began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "We have discovered something terrible, a species so dangerous that we must act now before it spreads beyond its home system." A holographic image appeared above the stage. It showed a blue and green planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Earth looked peaceful from far away, but Veltar touched a control pad, and the image changed. Now the council members saw pictures of human cities burning. Soldiers fighting in muddy fields, bombs falling from the sky, forests being cut down, rivers turning black with poison. The images kept coming, one after another, showing the worst moments from human history. "This planet was once a paradise," Veltar continued. "Rich with life, perfect weather, clean water everywhere. But look what the humans did to it. They turned their own home into a nightmare." The insectoid queen from the hive worlds clicked her mandibles in disgust. "Disgusting creatures, they destroy everything they touch." Commander Zekthul of the Craxian Empire slammed his armored fist on his chair. "My scouts have been watching them for 50 cycles. They never stop fighting. War after war after war. They kill their own kind for fun." The gaseous being from the Nebulon Collective pulsed bright red. "Our computers have counted their conflicts. Over 15,000 wars in just the last few thousand years. No other species in the galaxy has such a record of violence." Far away from the council chamber, floating in the cold darkness between stars, a small human ship called the Wanderer drifted silently. Inside the ship, 12 humans worked at their stations, unaware that their entire species was being judged by aliens they had never met. Commander Jake Sullivan sat in the captain's chair, reading reports from Earth. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. For 2 years, he and his crew had been exploring the outer edges of the solar system, looking for signs of life among the stars. "Sir," called out Kate Williams from the communication station, "I'm picking up some strange signals. They're not from Earth." Jake stood up quickly. "What kind of signals?" "It sounds like voices, lots of them, speaking in languages I've never heard before." Kate's fingers moved across her control panel. "Wait, I think I can clean this up." The bridge fell quiet as strange sounds filled the air. The voices were talking fast, and even though the humans couldn't understand the words, they could hear the anger in them. "Are they talking about us?" asked Lisa Martinez, the ship's engineer. She was a small woman with short black hair and oil stains on her uniform. "I think so," Kate replied, adjusting the controls. "I keep hearing one word over and over. It sounds like human." Back at the Galactic Council, more evidence was being presented. The holographic display now showed human weapons. Guns and tanks and fighter jets, nuclear missiles sitting in underground bunkers, space stations that could be turned into weapons. "Look at their technology," Veltar said, pointing at the images. "Everything they build is designed to kill. Even their entertainment celebrates violence. They make movies about war. They play games about fighting. Violence is in their very nature." The tree-like ambassador from the forest worlds rustled his leaves nervously. "But surely not all humans are like this. Every species has individuals who choose peace." "No," Veltar shook his head. "We have studied them carefully. Even their so-called peaceful leaders have blood on their hands. They call it necessary, evil, or protecting freedom, but it all means the same thing. They enjoy hurting others." A new voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. It belonged to Counselor Miralyn of the Etherians, a species known for their wisdom and patience. "Have we tried to communicate with them? Perhaps we could guide them toward a better path." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Species from across. The galaxy shouted at once, their translation devices creating a chaos of sound. Guide them? Zekthul roared. They would see our kindness as weakness and attack us. Look at their planet, buzzed the Hive Queen. They have poisoned their own, air and water. They cut down forests that took thousands of years to grow. They hunt other species to extinction for sport. These are not beings who can be reasoned with. Veltar raised his arms again for silence. The evidence is clear. Humans are a plague that will spread across the galaxy if we do nothing. They will turn every world they touch into another nightmare like Earth. On the Wanderer, Jake and his crew continued to listen to the alien transmissions. Kate had managed to improve the signal quality, and now they could hear the voices more clearly. I wish I knew what they were saying, Jake muttered, pacing behind Kate's chair. Sir? Called Dr. Ben Clark from the science station. I've been analyzing the signal patterns. These transmissions are coming from multiple sources, at least 50 different locations, all broadcasting at the same time. 50 ships? Lisa asked, looking worried. More than that, Ben replied, checking his readings again. The signals are too strong. These have to be coming from very large vessels, much larger than anything humans have ever built. Jake felt a cold chill run down his spine. For years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now it seemed they had their answer, and it might not be good news. Back at the Galactic Council, the debate was ending. Veltar looked around the chamber at all the alien faces staring back at him. The vote is simple, he announced. Do we allow this nightmare species to spread beyond their home system, or do we stop them now while we still can? All in favor of immediate containment? Lights began to glow around the chamber as species after species voted. Blue lights for yes, red lights for no. Jake would have been horrified to see how many blue lights filled the dome. The final count appeared in the air above the stage. 58 species voted for containment. Only 5 voted against. It is decided, Veltar declared. The containment fleet will depart immediately for the human system. May the galaxy forgive us for what we must do. As the council members began to leave, none of them noticed the small human ship still listening to their transmissions in the darkness between the stars. And none of them had any idea that they were about to meet humans very different from the monsters they imagined. 3 days after the Galactic Council vote, the alien containment fleet moved through space like a deadly cloud. 300 warships of different shapes and sizes traveled together toward Earth's solar system. Some ships looked like giant spears made of metal and crystal. Others were round like bubbles but covered in weapon ports. The largest vessels stretched for miles, carrying thousands of alien soldiers ready for war. War Prime Zekthul commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Death's Edge. He stood on the bridge wearing his battle armor, studying holographic displays that showed the human solar system ahead. His red eyes glowed with anger as he thought about the humans waiting for them. How long until we reach their outer planets? He asked his navigation officer. 6 hours, War Prime, the officer replied. Our scouts report no human ships in the outer system. They appear to be hiding near their homeworld. Zekthul laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. Cowards. They know we are coming and they run to hide behind their planet's skies. When we finish with them, the galaxy will be safe. But the aliens were wrong about the humans hiding. Jake Sullivan and his crew on the Wanderer had been watching the alien fleet approach for days. They had moved their small ship to a position behind one of Neptune's moons, using the ice and rock to hide their heat signature. How many ships do you count now? Jake asked Lisa Martinez, who was working at the sensor station. 312, Lisa replied, her voice tight with worry. And Jake, some of these ships are huge. The biggest one is almost 10 miles long. Dr. Ben Clark looked up from his computer. I've been trying to understand their technology. Their engines are at least 50 years ahead of ours, maybe more. Jake stared at the display showing the approaching fleet. 12 humans in one small ship against hundreds of alien warships. The odds were impossible, but Jake knew they had to. Try something. Kate, he called to the communications officer. Can you send a message to the lead ship? I think so, Kate replied. I've been studying their signal patterns. I might be able to create a basic translation. Do it. Send them a message of peace. Tell them we want to talk. Kate's fingers moved quickly over her controls. After a few minutes, she nodded. Message sent, sir. Now we wait. On the death's edge, Zekthul's communication officer suddenly looked up in surprise. War Prime, we are receiving a transmission from the human system. Already? Zekthul moved to the communication station. What are they saying? The officer played the message. Even through the translation, Jake's voice sounded calm and friendly. This is Commander Jake Sullivan of the Earth ship Wanderer. We know you are approaching our system. We wish to speak with you in peace. We do not want to fight. Please respond. Zekthul's face twisted with rage. Typical human lies. They speak of peace while preparing for war. Send them our reply. A few minutes later, Kate's face went pale as she listened to the alien response. Jake, she said quietly, they're not interested in talking. They said something about, I think they called us plague monsters that must be stopped. Sir, Lisa called from her station. The alien ships are changing course. They're heading straight for us. Jake made a decision that would change everything. All hands, battle stations. Lisa, give me everything the engines can handle. We're going to show them what humans can really do. The Wanderer shot out from behind Neptune's moon like a bullet. The small human ship was fast and agile compared to the massive alien vessels. Lisa had made modifications to their engines over the past 2 years, pushing them far beyond their original design limits. Incoming missiles, Ben called out as his sensors lit up with warnings. 20 of them coming fast. I see them, Jake replied, his hands steady on the controls. He threw the ship into a spinning dive that would have made most people sick, but his crew held on tight. The alien missiles flew past them, exploding harmlessly in empty space. On the death's edge, Zekthul watched in surprise as the small human ship dodged his missiles. How did they move so fast? Their ship is much smaller than we expected, his tactical officer reported, and it appears to be heavily modified. Send more missiles, Zekthul ordered. 50 this time. But Jake and his crew were ready. Lisa had been studying the alien weapons for days, and she had noticed something important. Jake, she called over the noise of alarms and explosions. Their missiles are guided by heat sensors, but they're designed to track ships much hotter than ours. What are you thinking? Jake asked as he spun the ship between 2 more explosions. If I can overload our waste heat system for just a few seconds, I can create a heat signature 10 times brighter than our ship. The missiles will chase the heat signature instead of us. Do it. Lisa's plan worked perfectly. When the next wave of missiles approached, she released a burst of superheated gas from the ship's engines. The missiles changed course and flew toward the heat signature, exploding far away from the Wanderer. Back on Earth, Dr. Alex Turner was working frantically at NASA headquarters. His computers had detected the alien fleet days ago, and now they were picking up the sounds of battle from the outer system. Colonel Roberts, he called to the military officer standing beside him. The fighting has started. Jake's ship is engaging a massive alien fleet. Colonel Amy Roberts studied the data on Alex's screens. She was a woman who had spent her entire career preparing for war, but she had never imagined anything like this. How many alien ships? She asked. Over 300, Alex replied. Against one small exploration vessel with 12 crew members. Amy felt her heart skip a beat. She knew Jake Sullivan personally. He was a good man, a peaceful explorer who had never wanted to fight anyone, but now he was humanity's first line of defense against an alien invasion. Get me the president, Amy ordered, and start calling every military base on the planet. If Jake can't stop them out there, we need to be ready here. Back in space, the battle continued. The Wanderer darted between the alien ships like a minnow swimming among sharks. Jake used every trick he had learned in 20 years of flying, while Lisa found new ways to confuse the alien weapons. But they were vastly outnumbered, and Jake knew they couldn't keep this up forever. His ship was fast, but it wasn't built for combat. They had no weapons that could hurt the massive alien vessels. Jake, Kate called from her station, I'm picking up something strange. Some of the alien ships are talking to each other and they sound confused. Confused about what? I think they're trying to figure out why we haven't attacked them yet. We've been dodging their weapons for an hour, but we haven't fired a single shot back at them. Jake realized Kate was right. They had been so focused on survival that they hadn't even tried to fight back. And apparently this was not what the aliens had expected. On the death's edge, Zekthul was indeed confused. His officers were reporting that the human ship had not fired a single weapon, despite being under attack for over an hour. "Are their weapons broken?" he asked his tactical officer. "Unknown, War Prime. But they are clearly capable of fighting. Their evasive maneuvers are better than anything we have seen before." Zekthul stared at the small ship on his display screen. The humans were supposed to be violent monsters who attacked everything they saw. But this ship was only defending itself, not attacking. "Perhaps they are trying to trick us," he muttered. But deep down, he was beginning to wonder if the Galactic Council had been wrong about something very important. The battle was far from over, and both sides were learning things about each other that neither had expected. The alien fleet pushed deeper into the solar system, leaving the small human ship behind. War Prime Zekthul had decided that one ship was not worth his time when there was an entire planet full of humans to deal with. But he couldn't stop thinking about how strange the encounter had been. As the massive fleet approached Mars, they found something they hadn't expected. A small research station orbited the red planet, with large solar panels that glittered in the sunlight. The station was clearly marked with peaceful symbols and the words Titan Research Station painted on its side. "War Prime," his tactical officer reported. "We are detecting life signs on that station. 300 humans, including what appear to be family units." Zekthul studied the station through his viewing screen. He could see windows with lights inside, and even some humans moving around in what looked like a garden area. Children were playing in a zero-gravity playground while their parents watched. "They put their young ones in space," he said with disgust. "Even their children are part of their war machine." "Sir, the station is sending us a message," the communications officer announced. "What are they saying?" "They welcome us to their solar system. They want to share their scientific research with us. They say they have been hoping to meet other intelligent life for many years." Zekthul's red eyes glowed with anger. "More lies. Destroy it." The order went out to the fleet, and within minutes powerful energy beams struck the research station. The small outpost had no shields, no weapons, no defenses at all. It broke apart like glass, sending pieces spinning into the darkness of space. All 300 humans died in seconds. Back on Earth, the destruction of Titan Research Station was seen by every government and military installation on the planet. The images came through clearly on the communication satellites, showing families being killed without warning or mercy. In the Pentagon, Colonel Amy Roberts watched the terrible scene on her screens. Her hands clenched into fists as she saw children's toys floating among the wreckage. "They killed everyone," she whispered. "Even the children." Dr. Alex Turner stood beside her, tears running down his face. Dr. Sarah Kim was on that station. She was working on a cure for cancer. Her whole family was with her. Around the world, the reaction was immediate and surprising. Instead of panic or chaos, something else happened. Every nation on Earth began working together like never before. Old enemies put aside their differences. Countries that had been at war for decades suddenly started sharing resources and information. In Beijing, military commanders called Washington. In Moscow, scientists offered to help with Earth's defense. In London, engineers started working on plans sent from Tokyo. For the first time in human history, the entire planet was united with one single goal. Captain Ryan Hayes had been sleeping when the attack happened. Now he stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, one of Earth's newest space vessels. He was a young man with short brown hair and the kind of calm eyes that made other people trust him. "How long until we reach the fleet?" he asked his navigation officer. 6 hours, Captain," came the reply. "The other Earth ships will meet us at the coordinates." Ryan looked at the tactical display showing Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet. 50 ships, most of them converted cargo vessels with weapons, bolted on. Against 300 alien warships, they didn't stand much of a chance, but that wasn't the point anymore. "Open a channel to all ships," Ryan ordered. When the communication was ready, he spoke to every human captain in the defense. Fleet, this is Captain Hayes. You all know what happened to Titan Station, you all know what we're up against, but I want you to remember something. We're not fighting for victory today. We're fighting to show these aliens who humans really are. Meanwhile, the alien fleet continued toward Earth. But something strange was happening among the alien crews. Many of them had watched the destruction of Titan Station, and they were starting to have doubts. On the bridge of the Etherian ship Wisdom's Light, Counselor Miralyn studied reports from her intelligence officers. The Etherians were known throughout the galaxy for their ability to sense emotions and thoughts. Counselor, her aide reported, our sensors are detecting massive communication activity from the human homeworld, but it's not what we expected. What, do you mean? They are not screaming for revenge or making threats of violence. Instead, they appear to be coordinating rescue efforts. They are organizing medical teams and evacuation ships for their civilians. Miralyn's large, gentle eyes grew thoughtful. Show me the communication intercepts. For the next hour, she listened to human voices from across Earth. Doctors volunteering to treat wounded soldiers. Engineers working without sleep to build shelters for refugees. Teachers organizing safe places for children. Parents telling their families they loved them, but not with the desperation of people planning to die in battle. This is not the behavior of the monsters described by the Council, she whispered to herself. On another ship in the fleet, similar doubts were growing. Commander Torgon of the Aquatic Collective had been monitoring human behavior patterns, and what he saw confused him greatly. Intelligence officer, he called to his aide, explain to me why the humans are evacuating their young and elderly to underground shelters instead of using them as shields or weapons. Unknown, Commander. It does not match their psychological profile from the Council reports. And why are their military leaders taking time to coordinate with civilian authorities instead of declaring martial law? Also unknown, sir. But War Prime Zekthul was not interested in doubts or questions. When his fleet finally encountered Earth's defense ships near the moon, he saw exactly what he expected to see. Human warships coming to fight. Finally, he growled. Now they show their true nature. The battle began differently than anyone expected. When the first alien missiles flew toward the human ships, Captain Ryan Hayes did something that shocked everyone watching. Instead of firing back immediately, he ordered his ship to move between the alien weapons and a damaged cargo vessel that was carrying evacuated families from Mars colonies. The USS Liberty took direct hits from 6 energy beams, but the cargo ship with 800 civilians made it safely behind the moon. Captain, his weapons officer called out, we could have destroyed their lead ship with that same power we used for shields. Our job isn't to destroy, Ryan replied, his voice steady, even as his ship shook from another impact. Our job is to protect. Across the human fleet, the same thing was happening. Human captains were using their ships to shield civilian vessels. Engineers like Pete Johnson worked frantically to repair damaged ships while under fire. Medical teams led by Dr. Emma Foster risked their lives to rescue crews from disabled vessels. And in every case, when human ships were forced to fight back, they aimed for engine systems and weapon arrays instead of crew areas. They disabled alien ships instead of destroying them. On the death's edge, Zekthul watched his tactical displays in growing confusion. Why aren't they targeting our command centers? He demanded. Unknown, War Prime. They appear to be trying to disable our ships rather than destroy them. That makes no sense. No warrior would show such weakness in battle. But it wasn't weakness the aliens were seeing. It was something far more dangerous to their beliefs about humanity. They were seeing humans who had learned to fight not out of hatred or bloodlust, but out of love for the innocent people they were protecting. As the battle continued, more and more alien ships stopped firing. Their crews were starting to realize that everything they had been told about humans might be wrong, and that realization was more frightening to them than any weapon the humans could have used. The fighting had been going on for 6 hours when something unexpected happened. A human ship called the Mercy's Dawn broke away from the main battle and approached one of the damaged alien vessels. The alien ship, a Craxian destroyer, was spinning, helplessly in space with its engines destroyed and life support failing. Captain Lisa Chen commanded the Mercy's Dawn. She was a former military doctor who had volunteered to fly a medical ship when the alien fleet arrived. Her crew of 20 included doctors, nurses, and rescue specialists from 12 different countries on Earth. "Alien vessel, this is Captain Chen of the medical ship Mercy's Dawn," she broadcast on all frequencies. "We can see your life support is failing. We are coming to help." On the damaged Craxian ship, Commander Vexhal couldn't believe what he was hearing. "They want to help us?" he asked his communications officer. "That appears to be their message, sir. They are asking permission to dock with our ship." Vexhal had been fighting for 30 years, but he had never encountered anything like this. Enemy ships were supposed to finish off damaged vessels, not offer medical aid. "Sir," his medical officer reported, "our life support will fail completely in 2 hours. 17 crew members are badly injured." Vexhal made a decision that went against everything he had been taught about warfare. "Tell the human ship they may dock." 20 minutes later, Captain Chen and her medical team boarded the alien ship. The humans wore simple medical uniforms with no weapons, carrying only medical supplies and emergency life support equipment. Dr. Emma Foster, Chen's chief medical officer, immediately went to work on the injured aliens. She had never treated non-human patients before, but she studied their biology quickly and began helping them. "Your blood chemistry is similar to ours," she told Commander Vexhal while treating his wounded navigator. "I can adapt our medicines to work for your people." "Why are you doing this?" Vexhal asked, his voice full of confusion. "We came here to destroy your world." Emma looked up from her patient, her hands still working to stop the aliens bleeding. "Because you're hurt, and we're doctors. That's what we do." Word of the rescue spread quickly through both fleets. On the death's edge, War Prime Zekthal was furious. "They are trying to trick us," he told his officers. "This is some kind of human strategy to make us weak." But on other alien ships, crews were starting to ask questions. The philosophical Etherians had always believed in studying their enemies carefully, and what they were seeing didn't match what they had been told. Counselor Miralyn requested permission to speak directly with the humans. After some debate among the alien commanders, a temporary ceasefire was arranged. The meeting took place on a small asteroid between the two fleets. Jake Sullivan and Kate Williams came from the Wanderer, while Captain Ryan Hayes joined them from the Defense Fleet. Dr. Ben Clark, the historian, was also invited to help explain human culture. The aliens sent Counselor Miralyn, Commander Vexhal, from the rescued ship, and surprisingly, 3 other commanders who had begun to doubt the Council's reports. The meeting room was simple, just a pressurized dome with breathing equipment for both sides. The humans sat on one side of a metal table, while the aliens took positions across from them. "We were told your species was a plague of violence," Miralyn began, her voice gentle despite the translation device. "But what we have observed does not match these reports." Jake leaned forward, his hands open on the table. "What exactly were you told about us? That you destroyed your own world for pleasure, that you wage war constantly, that you kill other species for entertainment." Miralyn's large eyes studied Jake's face carefully. "That you would spread across the galaxy like a disease, turning every world into a nightmare." Ben Clark, the historian, shook his head sadly. "Those things happened, but they're not the whole story. May I show you something?" He activated a small holographic projector that displayed images from Earth's history, but these were different from the ones the Galactic Council had seen. "Yes, we had wars," Ben said, as images of battlefields appeared. "But look what came after, each one." The images changed to show hospitals being built, peace treaties being signed, former enemies working together to rebuild their world. "Yes, we damaged our environment," Ben continued. The hologram showed polluted rivers and cut down forests. But then we learned from our mistakes. New images appeared showing humans cleaning up oil spills, planting new forests, building clean energy systems that worked with nature instead of against it. "Every mistake we made taught us to be better," Jake added. "Every war showed us the value of peace. Every environmental disaster made us more careful about protecting life." Kate activated her translation computer and played recordings from Earth. The aliens listened to human voices from around the world. Scientists sharing research to solve global problems. Doctors teaching other doctors how to save lives. Engineers designing better ways to grow food and clean water. This is what humans sound like when we're not fighting, Kate said. We're teachers, healers, builders. We only fight when we have to protect something we love. Commander Vexhal spoke up. I have seen this with my own eyes. When my ship was damaged, the humans could have left us to die. Instead, they risked their lives to save mine. But your violence, another alien commander protested. The Council showed us proof of your wars, your weapons. We're not proud of our violent history, Ryan said quietly. But we learned something important from it. We learned that the strongest people are not the ones who can hurt others, but the ones who choose to protect others instead. Ben activated another series of images. These showed human peacekeepers working around Earth, human doctors treating diseases in poor countries, human engineers building schools and hospitals in places that had been destroyed by natural disasters. This is what we became, Ben said. Not perfect, but always trying to be better. The alien commanders sat in silence for several minutes processing what they had heard. Finally, Miralyn spoke. If this is true, then the Council has made a terrible error. But how do we know you are not simply telling us what we want to hear? Jake stood up slowly. Come with us to Earth. See for yourself. Meet our families, our children, our teachers, and doctors. Judge us by who we are today, not by our worst moments from the past. And if we do this, asked Commander Vexhal, what happens to the rest of our fleet? War Prime Zek Thul will not be easily convinced. Then we have a bigger problem, Ryan said grimly, because there are others in your fleet who will never listen to reason, and they represent the same kind of thinking that nearly destroyed our own world. As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding on all the ships in both fleets. Emergency messages flooded the communication channels. A new fleet was approaching, larger and more heavily armed than the first. These ships belonged to the extremist faction led by Void Speaker Torrigan, aliens who believed that humans should be completely destroyed no matter what evidence suggested otherwise. They have come to finish what we started, Miralyn said, her voice filled with dread. Jake looked at the alien commanders around the table. It looks like we're going to find out right now whether humans and aliens can work together. Because if we can't, everyone is going to die. The real test was about to begin. The extremist fleet arrived like death itself. 500 ships of the most violent species in the galaxy, led by Void Speaker Torgan and his massive battleship called the Final Truth. These aliens had not come to capture or contain humans. They had come to wipe out every human in the solar system and turn Earth into burning ash. All human and sympathizer vessels. Torgon's voice boomed across all communication channels. You have 10 minutes to surrender before we cleanse this system of the human plague forever. Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Wanderer, now docked with several alien ships that had joined the humans. Around him, both human and alien officers worked side by side at control stations. How many ships do we have total? Jake asked. Commander Vexhal, who had become an unlikely ally, checked his tactical display. 60 human vessels and 43 ships from our fleet who refused to follow Torgon's madness. Against 500 extremist warships. The odds were terrible, but Jake had learned something important about humans over the past few days. They didn't fight because they thought they could win. They fought because some things were worth fighting for. All ships, this is Jake Sullivan, he broadcast to the mixed human and alien fleet. We didn't choose this fight, but we're going to finish it. Not for glory or revenge, but to protect the innocent people of Earth and to show the galaxy what we can accomplish when we work together. On Earth, the final preparations were complete. Colonel Amy Roberts had coordinated the evacuation of major cities. Millions of people were safely underground or in reinforced shelters. But more importantly, every person on the planet was watching the battle about to unfold in space. Dr. Alex Turner sat in the NASA control room, monitoring communications from the fleet. Jake, he broadcast to his old friend, the whole world is watching. Make us proud. The battle began when Torgan fired the first shot. A massive energy beam from the Final Truth struck one of the smaller human ships, destroying it instantly. But instead of scattering in fear, the mixed fleet did something that shocked the extremists. They moved closer together. Human ships formed protective formations around damaged alien vessels. Alien ships used their shields to protect human medical ships. Captain Lisa Chen's Mercy's Dawn flew between the battle lines, rescuing wounded crew members from both sides, while fighters from 6 different species provided cover. Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez had been flying cargo ships before the war started. Now he piloted a converted fighter alongside alien pilots he couldn't even pronounce the names of. But they communicated perfectly in the universal language of combat teamwork. Human pilot Rodriguez called his wingman, a crystalline being named Zektar. 3 enemy ships approaching from your left side. I see them, crystal friend, Sam replied, banking his ship into a sharp turn. Cover me while I line up a shot at their engines. Confirmed. Try not to get yourself killed, small human. Sam laughed despite the danger. Same to you, big crystal. The battle raged for hours, but something strange was happening. The mixed fleet was not just holding its own against the larger extremist force. They were winning. Dr. Emma Foster, working in the medical bay of the Mercy's Dawn, treated wounded from both human and alien crews. As she worked on an injured Etherian pilot, she noticed something important. Captain Chen, she called over the intercom. The extremist aliens are making tactical errors. They keep expecting us to act like savage monsters, but when we don't, their battle plans fall apart. She was right. Torgon and his extremist commanders had prepared to fight humans, who would attack blindly, use civilians as shields, and fight without honor or strategy. Instead, they found themselves facing humans who protected the innocent, coordinated perfectly with alien allies, and fought with both courage and wisdom. This is impossible, Torgon raged on his bridge. Humans are supposed to be mindless, killers. Why are they fighting like civilized beings? His tactical officer looked up from his displays with confusion. Void Speaker, they appear to be more concerned with protecting their allies than destroying us. They keep targeting our weapons and engines instead of our crew areas. Then target their civilians, Torgon ordered. Force them to show their true nature. But when the extremist ships turned toward Earth to attack the civilian population, they found their path blocked by the entire mixed fleet. Human and alien ships formed a wall of metal and energy between the attackers and the innocent people below. Captain Ryan Hayes broadcast a message to Torgon on an open channel. If you want to hurt the people of Earth, you have to go through all of us first. Human and alien together. On his flagship, War Prime Zekthul faced the hardest decision of his military career. He had come to destroy humans, but now he was watching humans die to protect alien lives. He was seeing alien crews risk everything to save human civilians. Communications officer, he said quietly. Send a message to Torgon. What message, War Prime? Tell him that the Craxian Empire withdraws from this battle. We will not be part of genocide against beings who have shown us honor. One by one, other ships in Torgon's fleet began to leave. Captains who had come to destroy humans found themselves unable to fire on beings who had treated their wounded and protected their allies. Within an hour, Torgon's massive fleet had shrunk to less than 100 ships crewed by the most fanatical extremists in the galaxy. You fools, Torgon screamed at the departing ships. You let these human monsters trick you with their false kindness. But Jake Sullivan had one more surprise for the extremist leader. He opened a communication channel that broadcast to every ship in the solar system and every listening post across the galaxy. Torgon, Jake said, his voice calm and clear. You came here believing that humans are monsters. You're right that we have the capacity for great violence. But look around you. Look at what you've become. The broadcast showed images of Torgon's remaining ships firing on medical vessels, targeting civilian evacuation ships and destroying anything in their path without mercy or honor. You represent exactly what we used to be, Jake continued. Beings so afraid of others that you choose hatred over understanding, so convinced that you're right that you'll commit genocide to prove it. You are the nightmare that we learned to stop being. Across the galaxy, millions of beings watched the broadcast. They saw human ships protecting alien civilians. They saw alien crews working alongside human engineers. They saw former enemies choosing cooperation over conquest. And they saw Torgon's extremists acting exactly like the savage monsters they claimed humans were. The final moment came when Torgon, desperate and defeated, fired his ship's most powerful weapon directly at Earth. But the beam never reached the planet. Jake Sullivan flew the Wanderer directly into its path, sacrificing his small ship to save billions of lives. As Jake's ship broke apart, escape pods scattered in all directions. Alien ships that had been enemies hours before raced to rescue the human crew members floating in space. With their leader's ship destroyed and his cause revealed as the true evil in the solar system, the remaining extremist ships surrendered or fled. 6 months later, Jake Sullivan stood in the same crystal dome where the Galactic Council had once voted to destroy humanity. But now he stood as Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy, welcomed as an equal among beings who had learned to call humans friends. The Council recognizes Ambassador Sullivan of Earth, announced Veltar, who had become one of humanity's strongest supporters. Jake looked around the chamber at representatives from across the galaxy. Many of them were species who had once wanted to destroy his world. 6 months ago you called Earth a nightmare, Jake said. You were partially right. We did terrible things to our world and to each other. But we learned from our mistakes. We chose to become better. He activated a holographic display showing Earth as it was now, clean cities powered by renewable energy, forests growing back where they had been cut down, human and alien scientists working together on research stations throughout the solar system. The real nightmare, Jake continued, was not our capacity for violence. It was the fear and hatred that almost made us use that violence against each other. We defeated that nightmare not by becoming weak, but by becoming strong enough to choose peace. Counselor Mira Lynn stood up from her seat. The Etherian Council moves to formally welcome humanity into the galactic community. With full membership and voting rights, the vote was unanimous. As Jake walked out of the council chamber, he thought about the long journey that had brought them to this moment. Humans had been called monsters, and they had proven that even monsters could choose to become something better. The galaxy was no longer afraid of humanity. Instead, they looked to Earth as an example of hope for any species struggling with their own dark impulses. The nightmare was over. The dream had just begun.